Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending upon where you are. I appreciate it. We've got a global audience tonight, so I am even more excited than I was 5 minutes ago when I see the turnout here. This is fantastic. Tonight, we're going to go through an introduction to DroneBlocks. The DroneBlocks team has been nice enough to ask me to present. We'll talk about my program, how I use the DroneBlocks curriculum in my program, but tonight is all about DroneBlocks. A couple of notes. I don't know to what extent all of you participants have familiarity with DroneBlocks. So I'm going to do a little bit of a level set in the beginning. So for those of you that are new to DroneBlocks, you'll get a lot out of that part of it. For those of you that have used the program in the application, it's going to seem a little redundant, so I'll move through it relatively quickly. Again, this is being recorded. So those of you that are newer to the program can always, and there'll be a lot of information, you can go back and watch it, or you can go to droneblocks.io and learn more, okay? So let's get started. So who am I? Who is this guy sitting in front of you today that has the gall to tell you about DroneBlocks? My name is Scott Buell. I'm pretty much like you. I'm a techie drone enthusiast. I've really got a passion for introducing kids to the wonderful world of drones. I've got a program, it's a character education program called Drone Legends, and one of the core pillars of my program is the DroneBlocks curriculum. So it's one of the underpinnings of my program. I've used it in both the live and virtual settings, and I'll talk about that as we proceed. So let's move on. So what are we going to cover today? A little bit of an overview of DroneBlocks. Implementing DroneBlocks in the classroom or club setting. Addressing COVID. I know this is going to be on everybody's mind, and we will address it. What's new? What's happening? And then we'll do a little Q&A at the end. All right? Let's keep going. What is it? For those of you interested in starting a club or a school program, DroneBlocks is a great way to introduce STEAM and 21st century learning with block coding into the classroom setting. At its very basic, DroneBlocks is an easy to implement block coding application. It works with the DJI Telo and the Telo EDU. But it's so much more. Let's check some of this out, okay? There's a full curriculum. So it starts with the block coding, but it escalates up in a progressive curriculum to include Python, Node-RED, JavaScript, and OpenCV. And more is happening every single day. The DroneBlocks team is very active, creating new content, new products, new services to help you folks in the field. It works with all of these applications. It's Apple friendly, Android, so we use a lot of times in my clubs, we're using iPads, so it works with iPhones, iPads, Android devices, tablets, Chrome browser extension, Chromebooks, and Windows as well. It is available for free. The app is available for free on the Apple Store, on the App Store, and Google Play Store. Let's talk a little bit about the application. Okay, so for those of you that aren't familiar with DroneBlocks, this is what the application looks like either in the app or on the Chrome extension. And real quickly, to the left, you've got your navigation menu. Here you can access all of your navigation commands, flips, loops, creating variables. Okay, so that all happens there on the left. We call this inside piece here the canvas. And this is where you drag and drop your blocks to create missions. This happens to be a very cool mission. It is points on a line. Okay, over here you've got your menu where you can log in, save, and share missions with the community. Really cool feature here is this show mission code button. This I love to use. This is really great because it allows you to show the students the JavaScript that underpins the DroneBlocks. So truly the blocks are just masking the Java, and you're able to show the students what the JavaScript looks like that is correlated to their code, okay? So I really like to use this feature so that this, as the students progress, the JavaScript format or Python and TrueScript doesn't look foreign to them, okay? There's a suite of amazing courses. And as I said earlier, continuous innovation. In fact, there are over 100 lessons in this whole suite. You can see this at learn www.droneblocks.io. I thought it'd be great if we just kind of popped out for a moment and took a look at what you've got access to here. So I'm in learn.droneblocks.io. This is for the members. You would have access to all of this content, okay? And you can see the suite of lessons. And if we just start off, let's go to Introduction to Telo Drone with DroneBlocks. Let's do this. Here, let me go inside here. So this is cool. You can see that. You have to enroll in that course. So you get a lot of different things here, and you can see all of the different content, including Spark, DroneBlocks Challenge missions, math with drones. So continuously updating this at all times. So this is a great, great feature. Let's move on. As part of the ecosystem, DroneBlocks offers a very rigorous professional development program. Everything from a robust needs assessment to working with the technology, connecting the drones, troubleshooting the drones, and then working with all of the applications and the curriculum. So there's all of that included in this professional development package that, again, is part of this overall DroneBlocks ecosystem as an add-on. So let's talk about my personal learnings to make this more relevant and how you might be able to utilize it in your program. So this is what I'm going to share with you from my personal experiences with my Drone Legends program. Just some kind of takeaways if you're interested in starting your program. So my experience so far, I work with young kids, 9 through 13 years of age. So I've got a lot of young students, as you can see here in this picture. I focus on the block coding component of the curriculum. As I showcased earlier, there is so much more to it. My experience thus far has been primarily with the students with the block coding, but there's so much more if you want to escalate that. Pre-COVID, I worked in live settings and group settings. Post-COVID, I've switched to a virtual and remote Zoom. So this kind of a format here with the students actually Zooming in and having the classes held in a virtual environment. So I'll touch on some things that I've found work very well in both of those settings and then individually within each. Let's talk about a group setting, assuming you're working with a large group of kids. You don't want to throw, let's say you've got 30 students, you don't want to throw 30 drones in the air at once. So you can group kids 2 to 3 per drone. That's very doable. In fact, it's great because it allows them to collaborate, to work together as a team, and you can have them trade off on roles, such as one student could be the remote pilot in command. You make another the visual observer while another's handling the coding, and then you rotate them through those roles, okay? Piloting can be done in our programs. We let the kids fly manually with the actual Telo app. You let them code through here as well, but you can also code on a Chromebook or any one of the tablets that we talked about earlier, an Android tablet, an iPad, and then you can have them launch and execute missions via one of these kind of tablets. So a lot of different ways to do that. But again, grouping kids to a drone and a device is a great way to encourage collaboration and teamwork. Here's some things that are just you find as you go along. Telo's got a Wi-Fi connection to the device. What I find when I'm working with my own equipment and I'm bringing that in and out of the classroom or in and out of the club setting, it's really great to, first off, label your Telos with their SSID. Each Telo has its own unique SSID. Also, you can create a unique password, a Wi-Fi password to the Telo, which I don't know if many people know that, but you can actually create a password. And then what I find really advantageous is to link a Telo to a device. And there I write down the actual SSID on the device, and there it is there, so that I never have to worry about pairing issues when I'm working in a class setting. I know which Telo belongs to which device. Okay, so really helpful. And that SSID, you need that when you log into the DroneBlocks app as well. So it asks you for that. So it's always nice, just a little trick, just to put that right on the end of your Telo there. Update the firmware. DroneBlocks and Telo work best when that Telo firmware has been updated to the latest version. So I implore you, update your firmware. You're going to have a much better experience. And also bright lights. In the classroom setting, this isn't really an issue. In the classroom setting, you've got bright overhead lights. The Telo has these sensors underneath. if it can't see the ground, it tends to have issues navigating around, and that also does affect the performance of DroneBlocks. So keep it bright, you'll be totally fine. I showed you all the course materials. I didn't get to do a deep dive in there. That's something that you can do on your own. You can take a look at it at learn.droneblocks.io. However, I wanted to show a few screen grabs here. There is so much material up on that platform. Each module is broken out by course. There's videos walking you through how to structure the code mission. What are you trying to communicate to the students? How to set up the code blocks. I use this all the time when I'm creating my programs. I am constantly referring back to the lessons that the guys at DroneBlocks have created because they put together such a great library of content. It's tremendously useful. So bookmark it, refer to it often. And in that vein, when I create my programs, what I've learned is utilizing all the great content that DroneBlocks has created, make this fun. The students are attracted by the drones. They want to get coding. They want to get moving. So start with the flight. Get them flying early. Get those kids engaged. I think you're going to have a much better experience than trying to flip it the other way and get into a lot of the nuts and bolts first. Get them flying. Just loosen everybody up. The library makes it very easy to break down the block code missions into very small, easy to grasp segments. So when you go back to that library of content, they'll lay it out for you. DroneBlocks has done a nice job of working you through it stepwise so that you too can develop that kind of a stepwise approach in your lesson planning. And I like to throw in a lot of great graphics in our Drone Legends programs. I just find that I use creative graphics to help kids understand key points and drive them home. The DroneBlocks programs are a very robust program. And remember, I'm dealing with some kids that are as young as 9 years old. DroneBlocks makes it very easy for these younger kids to grasp some of these very mature concepts, the use of variables, logic, using if-else statements, variability, three-dimensional coordinates. All of this is stuff that we're introducing at a very young age. So it's highly doable. It's just a matter of how you structure it, and DroneBlocks makes it very easy to structure it in a very nice way that the kids can understand. This is a great feature. So self-driving the kids, letting the kids take what they've learned in the classroom setting from the core DroneBlocks curriculum and going off and collaborating, becoming curious as to what else they can do with these blocks. My experience has been that once you expose the kids to the DroneBlocks program, they're off and running and starting to create their own missions. This happens to be something that a child did just this past week. I thought it was amazing. The DroneBlocks has a hexagon mission that you see over here on the left. And our student came back a day later and said, I've created a spiral-gon mission, which has it going in concentric circles, narrower and narrower, down, down, down. So he's incorporated the use of variables and nested loops. So DroneBlocks makes it great. They give you the core, and then the students are able to kind of move off on their own and develop some really great block coding programs of their own. And again, when they've done something like that, what I like to do is just click on that, show that mission code, and get the students to see that what they've created, how that aligns to an actual JavaScript format. Okay, so that's a great way. Keep doing that. I think that's a great feedback mechanism to get the kids thinking that, yes, I'm working in blocks, but I'm actually coding. Okay. Let's talk about virtual. This is the world we live in now, and for the foreseeable future, classes will resume depending upon where you are, but we have to now kind of consider virtual and how we're going to address it. I try to keep virtual programs smaller, especially when I'm using a physical device. Use the Zoom features of polling and chat and raising hands as a feedback mechanism. Slow it down a little bit, and you will encounter tech issues. We always do, right? Before I started this webcast, I was thinking about what kind of technology issues might I encounter. We use those as teaching experiences. So we always want the kids to say, look, when something isn't necessarily working out, let's say the Telo won't take off, or it's just not pairing with the app. there's a reason, all right? It's very simple to rectify. You just need to take a deep breath, get the kids to pause for a moment, maybe count backwards from 5, and then reverse engineer, walk back through the steps. Oftentimes, I find that it's more the error that a child has made in the sense that they didn't necessarily connect to the Wi-Fi first. So there's things that you need to step them through. And what I'll do is it gives me an opportunity to teach the kids on how to respect their teammates. So I'll sidebar with one of the students having maybe a technology issue, and I'll let the other students go off and work on their missions that we've been working on. Once I have an opportunity to work one-to-one with one of the students, we will regroup. And I think it's a great way to teach the kids respect for their fellow students, teamwork, camaraderie, and so on. So use it. It's going to happen. There's no need to fear it. I think you need to embrace it and use it as a teaching experience. Let's talk about COVID. Okay, I think I've got some chats. I'm going to pause for a moment, and I've got some chats coming up. Let's see what we've got here. Okay, here's a question from Marlon. How do you manage switching between connecting from Wi-Fi for Zoom and Wi-Fi for Telo when you're remote? It's a good question. There's a couple of ways you can do that. You can get an adapter that can port 2 channels, so you can end up with 2 Wi-Fi channels. Maybe in the recording or a follow-up email. DroneBlocks team, you're listening, if you make a note, maybe we want to provide some of the people with a link to where they can get one of these Wi-Fi adapters that'll split the signal so that the child can run on 2 signals at once. You can put a dedicated signal to the Telo and a dedicated signal to the Zoom. The other is in my programs, we actually have the child working on a device, and then they're interacting from either another tablet or a laptop. So they're working the DroneBlocks app here on a device and communicating with me through Zoom on a device, on a laptop. So 2 separate devices. I hope that answers your questions. Excellent. Perfect. Great. So let's talk about dealing with COVID and distance learning. It's something we're all thinking about. The DroneBlocks team has taken a very proactive stance here. They've been working very hard to address this, and they've come up with something really cool, which I'm going to show you. I'm really excited to show you this. So it is called the DroneBlocks Simulator. Yes, indeed, a simulator. And this is a membership exclusive. We will talk about what the membership looks like, but I really wanted to show you this new cloud-based simulator that the DroneBlocks team has developed. It's brand new. It's terrific. I want to reiterate something. It is cloud-based, so there's no installs, there's no downloads. I know some school systems, it's difficult to be downloading content, so you want to be able to have this up in the cloud, and that's where this resides. So this is really a fascinating little tool. I'm going to walk you through it right now. I know that sometimes Zoom has a video lag, so here we go. Watch this. So I'm not going to go too crazy. But so for the screen, you can see that it follows suit of the app. So you've still got all of your command features here. You've got your flips, your takeoff, your loops, logic, and so forth, okay? Here's where it gets interesting over here. This side of the world is now our Telo side of the world. And down here sits a great little Telo. Let me get to him, okay? That's and look, I can toggle off and on these grids, okay? So there's our little virtual Telo. Everybody see him there? Kind of cool. He sits on the XYZ axis. All right, so there he is right there. Whenever you launch a mission, you can always reset him. The grid lines, let me show you a little bit about these grid lines. Each one of these grids represents 10 centimeters. Okay, so you can start to do you can all of a sudden start to see some really neat applications in terms of measurement and distance. And something else that's really unique with being able to work in a simulated environment, I'm going to toggle those off for a moment, is something brand new. Why not play with some rings? This is very cool. So you've got 5 ring elements, and those of you, I can see it, I can hear it in your voices. You're thinking about how cool is this? And how many different ways can we utilize these patterns? There are 5 ring layouts that you can toggle through. Okay, and you can actually go to full screen here. That button right there is a full screen. So you can toggle through 5 ring layouts. There's 1, there's 2, somebody's got a chat real quick. awesome seeing the simulator. It sure is, isn't it? Look at this thing. These rings are so cool. I love them. I like just kind of playing around with them. You've got ring layout number 4. And finally, ring layout number 5. But let me show you with ring layout number 1. Let me get out of here and go back to the split screen. We've created an XYZ bar here, which is a coordinate pattern. So let me show you how to launch this guy and what it looks like. All right, so I'm gonna launch the mission and I'm gonna go to full screen. And you can see Telo's leaving a flight trail there. You can come around. Pretty cool, huh? What do you guys think? Thumbs up? Pretty neat. This is, all kidding aside, this is a great way to sandbox, right? So when you're talking about creating new mission codes, letting the students react and kind of test out their code missions in the simulated environment prior to putting them and introducing them into the physical Telo. So when we think about a remote world, maybe you can practice some of the things we'll do with the simulator is practice some of the code development in the simulated environment. And then as a quote unquote homework assignment, if a child has its own personal Telo, they can go off and try to practice now in the physical Telo world. So there's so many different variations of what you can do with this simulator. Is there a virtual ruler to take measurements? Good question. There's the grid. 10 centimeters per square. Okay? So each square represents 10 centimeters. So you can start to measure. You can see how high Telo takes off. Right? Let's watch this. I'll run it again. Whoops. Can everybody see that? So there's your measurement system. So that's a great way to utilize the grid to run your measurements. All righty, here we go. So what's new? I'm gonna move off. We'll have a Q&A at the end where we can let the DroneBlocks people in as well. So what's happening now? What's all new? DroneBlocks membership. This is what's new. This is something announced this year. For those of you not familiar with the DroneBlocks membership, it is a subscription service available to an individual. If you are at a teaching institution, there is a separate system that you're able to access. So I'll have a link to at the end of this for institutions. If you're an individual, the DroneBlocks membership allows you access to all of the content that we've seen on a monthly subscription basis. And there is an enterprise version as well for those in schools and teaching institutions. So it covers a lot. First off, you get into the whole DroneBlocks community. I talked earlier about the ecosystem, right? About all of the content that's being developed, all of that curriculum. There is the DroneBlocks Facebook page. If you haven't been there, you should definitely go log in and join the Facebook community, because you get a lot of the questions that are being asked here today are addressed. If you have an issue, that community is huge, okay? There's so many members there and everybody is so helpful. It's like being part of a family of developers, teachers, and users. So it's a really great place. That is in Facebook. It's the DroneBlocks community. You get access to technical support as a DroneBlocks member, and all of that software, from the DroneBlocks app to the DroneBlocks Code to the Python, Java, Node-RED, so on and so on and so on. There's just a continuously evolving library of content that you have access to. And it's all here. And we've seen that. Over 100 lessons already and growing daily. Okay, so you've got curriculum and software here as part of it. The DroneBlocks Simulator is a membership exclusive, okay? So as a member, you have access to it, and that would include for teaching institutions. So through the enterprise membership, you have access to this as well. So that whole simulator that we just saw is part of this program. And this is something new. It's called DroneBlocks Code. So it's available for PC and Mac. It's exclusive for members. It's for advanced members that have moved beyond the block coding with DroneBlocks. And it allows you to program Telo and Telo EDU in the JavaScript environment and much more advanced programming techniques. So this is brand new. I have yet to be able to use it. I've kind of played with it a little bit. I will say it's very, very cool. It can do things that the block coding has limitations to. And again, I will let some of the DroneBlocks folks address your questions related to DroneBlocks Code as we wrap this up. I do expect there to be a lot of Q&A here. And speaking of wrapping up, I've kind of reached here the end of this presentation. And I know I want to end it with this, and I want to pause for a Q&A, but I just want to reiterate what you've seen here. You know, a great app, a great community of users, consistent innovation, collaboration, really addressing the remote learning environment with the launch of the simulator, always working to introduce new products and new services into the DroneBlocks community. So I want to thank you. I've had a great experience with DroneBlocks. It is a core element of my program, and I know the kids just love it, and I love teaching it. So with that, I will open this up to Q&A, and let's open this up now. I'm sure people have a lot of questions. So I'm going to open up chat, and there also is the Q&A. Okay. Here we go. Let's go here. We've got, does the code come with the curriculum? Yes. If I understand the question, are the block coding missions and Java missions part of the curriculum? The answer is absolutely yes. A couple of the code missions that you saw there laid out with the variables and everything, that's part of the curriculum. And they walk you through how to structure that out so that you then can go and teach it to your students. Can you set a max height on the Telo? You know, the Telo launches to a 4-foot range. I don't know that if you can, that's more of a technical issue. I have yet to have a need to set it at a maximum height beyond that. If I want to fly higher, there is a navigation block that is fly up. So you can have Telo take off to its standard takeoff height, and then you can fly up X number of inches or centimeters as far as you want to go. Man, lots of great questions. What kind of space do you need to run the class in a normal classroom? You know, you don't need a large space. It depends on how many students you have. I think that's kind of a relative question. If you've got 10 students, you don't want them in a 10 by 10 room. More room is great, you know, like you're flying drones. The bigger the room, the better it's going to be. Again, a well-lit gymnasium is great, but a classroom setting, we've got tables and chairs, perfectly doable. In fact, that's how this program's run often. Let me see the second part of that question. You've got, what's the ratio of teacher to student in my class? 1 to 6. It depends on the school that I've been in. My experience is I'm not a teacher at an institution. I have a private drone club, so I run after school programs, either at the school. I've done them in churches. I've also done them in community centers and rec centers, and then I've done them virtually. So for me, I like to keep it, you know, 1 to 5, 1 to 6. That's nice, but I've done 1 to 10. It really depends. Some schools will have a requirement, so I don't want to speak for other schools. Can students work virtually in the simulator by sharing code or combining code in groups? It's a great question. In Zoom allows you to do breakouts and meetings. So I've never done it, but in practice, it's absolutely doable. It would mean that you would work on one simulator in a breakout room, and the students could collaborate on that. Now, one student would have to drive it, so you know, it's not that they could all interact like you're working on a Google document at the same time. That doesn't exist yet. Okay, let me see. I've got some other Q&A. Is there going to be virtual competitions on the simulator? Yes, I mean, I don't see why not. I would leave that. That might be up to you. I think it's a great idea. I'd love to see virtual competitions. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, but I could see where there's some sort of a timed event where you've got some standards that they must address, and then they've got to put together a mission. Maybe it's the ring. Maybe it's who can get through one of those ring patterns either the fastest or using the most unique sequence of code. There could be a lot of ways you could take that. How long do you think the curriculum would last for a virtual experience? Doreen's asking that. Doreen, you can get roughly, if you're, I think it's limitless, right? I think that they give you a good foundation and you've got a lot of content to work from. So at its very core, there are hundreds. We talked about hundreds of lessons that step from block coding up through Python, Node-RED, and so on. So literally 100 lessons. And then from there, I would argue that you can create your own based on that. So there's really limitless. It's endless. I mean, I think the opportunities are really endless. What? I'm looking at all of these guys, so I'm sorry. I'm trying to answer everybody's question. Okay, people are, what DJI drones? So this is a question about what DJI drones does the DroneBlocks curriculum support? So there are two, that's a good question. It's not specific to Telo. You can actually use the DroneBlocks code for some of the larger, I know the Phantom models will work. I don't have experience with using DroneBlocks outside of the Telo environment. I do know that there are curriculum courses in the subscription model that address just that. So there are missions and different challenges that will work with Phantom models. It may work with a Mavic, I'm not sure. That'll be a question that I'll ask the DroneBlocks people to address, please. So contact email to get, you would contact support at droneblocks.io. That's from Jason England. If you want to get info on a class subscriptions for students, I've also included a link in the chat early on. If you go all the way back to the very beginning of the chat, I'll repost it right here. Let me copy that. And that link can take you to more information, okay? And I'll paste that there again. There you go. Enter. Good. Excellent. Okay, let's see. I tried to launch a mission on Android, but the drone didn't fly. Is there a Python version of DroneBlocks? There absolutely is. Python is part of the subscription service. So Hassan, that would answer your question. And also, you saw the new DroneBlocks Code that works with Java. So there's a lot of different environments that you can work in. It's not specific to blocks. So many, many different ways that you can address that. And I would encourage you to always update firmware again. We tend to teach remotely. Does your simulator work at home if they don't have the Telo drone? Yes. So this is going to Kitty. Yeah, if you're working remotely, that's exactly what the simulator. So she asks, does the simulator work at home if they do not have a Telo drone? Will students be able to download the DroneBlocks Simulator program into their Chromebooks? It's not a download, it's a cloud-based, so that eliminates the need to download anything, which is great, that's by design. 2, the simulator works at home. It is exclusive of a Telo drone, and in fact, it is because if the student does not have a Telo drone at home, they can use the block coding curriculum using the simulator. So Kitty, I hope that addresses your questions. How hard is it to program Telo on a swarm? The EDU has some swarm features. I have not. However, there is a curriculum in the DroneBlocks curriculum piece that actually helps you structure a choreographed dance. It's not necessarily a programmed swarm, but it kind of emulates a swarm, which I thought was really cool, as you can do it to music. And so there's this whole arts kind of component to the curriculum, and you'll see it there in the curriculum. This is great. What Do you need enterprise membership to teach a standalone program, not with a school, or can you just need the individual membership? This is Andrea asking. Andrea, why don't you email that question to support@droneblocks.io. Okay, so Andrea Watson, please email that question to support@droneblocks.io. I've got 4 new messages down here. Let's go all the way down. 4 new messages. Okay, we've got Marissa. All right, excellent, excellent, good, good, good. Does anybody have any other questions? Put them in the chat. If anybody has additional questions, please put them in the chat and I'll answer them. Is there a way to save to DroneBlocks code to code a repo like GitLab? Dwayne, I'm going to let the DroneBlocks team answer that. DroneBlocks team, is there a way to save the DroneBlocks code to a code repo like GitLab? I believe there is in the Python and Java environments, but I'm really going to let the DroneBlocks team address that. It's Julia. Can I get you to talk, Julia? Are you muted as well? There you go.
I'm
Hi,
unmuted,
Julia.
but I have to tell you, Scott, this is great, and I'm very new to it. And our school just got 20 per class for 4 classes. I'm a technology engineering teacher.
Excellent.
I'm from Massachusetts, and we're hanging in the balance. But I am so looking forward to experimenting with at least one of the Telos by myself, just to get to know it, and hopefully being able to use a simulator, which would really be fantastic. So I want to just thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm so glad you found this helpful. I hope everybody feels the same way. Julia, thank you so much for that. That's great to hear. And good luck. And again, use that support email if you have any questions. You can access the curriculum through the link I put in the chat. And if you have any questions, just contact the DroneBlocks team, and I'm happy to share with you some of my own personal experiences as well if you have questions. So, but use that support email; they'll get right on it. Thank you so much, Julia. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you. You're welcome. There you go. Okay, there you are. Unmute Musauer. Musauer, I need you to unmute yourself if you have a question. I cannot unmute you. You seem to be muted on your end. I flew the Telo out over our roof and went into a tree. Kitty, yes. Ted, you can reach out. I'm addressing Ted's son. Ted, reach out to the support@droneblocks.io with any technical questions. Is everybody good? I think we're good. Excellent. I want to thank all of you for your time today. This has been terrific. We will be following up with emails, and they will have information on how to access the curriculum, where you can get more information. So be on the lookout for those. I'm really, really, really excited about this. It's such a great program, and I think you guys are going to have a lot of fun. The new simulator is wonderful for the remote environment, and I think you can do both, right? So use it as a sandbox to test, and then fly them in the real world. It's very helpful, okay? Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful evening, and I hope to hear from you soon, okay? Take care. Bye-bye.